Good evening. Welcome to South Asia Newsline. I'm Arjun Chaudhary. Here are the top stories we're tracking for you on Tuesday, the 28th of October. India's Supreme Court orders BJP government to reveal all names in black money list. Taliban violence surges as NATO troops withdraw in Afghanistan. And Cyclone Nilofar to touch coastal India and Pakistan this week. And now for all the details. India's Supreme Court has asked the federal government to disclose the names of all black money account holders in the country by Wednesday. This comes after the Narendra Modi government revealed names of only 8 of them, much to the disappointment in the highly anticipated list. A report.
The Indian government had earlier refused to disclose the names of some 800 account holders with illicit funds or black money in foreign banks. And despite mounting pressure from opposition parties to release the names, the Narendra Modi-led administration has only done so now because it's gathered substantial evidence to prosecute the named parties for alleged tax evasion. According to a court filing, the 8 names include those of a prominent businessman, a former director of consumer goods maker Dabur, a gold trader, and a Goa-based mining company. Black money refers to undeclared funds that Indians have stashed abroad to avoid local tax. And the ruling Bharatiya Janata Party had promised to repatriate these illicit funds as part of its nationwide clampdown on corruption. All those named in the affidavit submitted to the Supreme Court have denied any wrongdoing. But funds that have not been accounted for have been found in their foreign accounts.
Names are gradually being declared, as had been promised by the Finance Minister Shri Arun Jaitley, that in the due procedure of law, names would be declared, and that has started to happen.
The government's delay in making public the names of alleged tax evaders has riled BJP's political rivals.
कहते थे 800 लोगों के नाम बताएं, अब देरी इसलिए हो रही है, कहीं अपने ही शुभचिंतक तो उसमें नहीं.
They have accused Mr. Modi's government of promising to tackle corruption to win election votes and of protecting its party's supporters on that list.
हमें कोई चिंता किसी बात की नहीं है. जो नाम देने चाहिए और जो कानून के तहत वो देंगे या उनको देने चाहिए वो दे, हमें कोई आपत्ति इस बात से नहीं है. लेकिन ऐसा ना करें कि चुन कर सिर्फ राजनीतिक लाभ के लिए और राजनीतिक प्रलोभन के लिए वो एक नाम दें और एक नाम ना दें, ऐसा नहीं करना चाहिए.
The Indian government is trying to make good on its promise to bring back illicit funds amounting to hundreds of billions of dollars stashed in tax havens across the world. If Mr. Modi's black money busters could even retrieve a portion of these funds and bring them back to the country, they could be used to boost the country's economy. Avneet Arora for South Asia Newsline in New Delhi.
Tensions prevailed a day after the Taliban claimed responsibility for a deadly attack on a court in northern Afghanistan that left 7 people dead. The militia stepped up violence as the NATO troops began withdrawing from the war-ravaged country.
The Taliban seem to have a free hand in Afghanistan. In a string of violence, the militant outfit this time attacked a provincial court in Kunduz. The relatively peaceful city echoed with gunshots on Monday as Taliban militants opened fire at civilians, including several prosecutors. A suicide bomber detonated his explosive-laden car at the main gate of the court, while 4 other attackers wearing army uniforms set off a 4-hour protracted gun battle with Afghan security forces, witnesses said.
نتیجه درگیری 6 نفر از سارانوال صاحبایی که در داخل تعمیر بودند توسط مخالفین به شهادت رسیده و 9 نفر دیگه از سارانوال صاحبا به شمول یک خانم که آشپز بوده اینا مجروح شده که به شفاخانه انتقال داده شده.
Monday's attack comes a day after the US Marines gave away their Camp Leatherneck to Afghan forces. Britain also officially handed over its last base in southern Helmand province on Sunday. The NATO troops' withdrawal, however, comes at a time when the Taliban is making steady progress in gaining grounds being vacated by the NATO troops, taking advantage of a security gap. The US-led forces began invading Afghanistan in 2001, ousting the Taliban from its long regime. Though the US has formally ended its mission, around 12,000 military personnel, mostly Americans, will stay in the country for at least a decade. The latest security arrangement to tackle the Taliban comes as a provision under the recently signed bilateral security agreement between Afghanistan's newly elected government with Washington.
Indian President Pranab Mukherjee on Tuesday gave approval to the Lieutenant Governor of Delhi to invite the single largest political party to form the government in the national capital. The Aam Aadmi Party or AAP has, however, accused the federal ruling Bharatiya Janata Party of running away from fresh polls in Delhi.
After nearly 8 months of President's rule, Delhi may have an elected government soon. Delhi's Lieutenant Governor Najib Jung is expected to invite BJP to form the next government here. This comes as the Supreme Court on Tuesday rejected a petition filed by AAP Supremo Arvind Kejriwal seeking the dissolution of Delhi Assembly and calling for fresh elections. Former Delhi Chief Kejriwal questioned the BJP, which had so far refused to form the government, citing lack of numbers.
कि भाई अगर राष्ट्रपति साहब ने मंजूरी दे भी दिए तो नंबर्स कहां से आएंगे? पिछले 8 महीने से अगर नंबर्स इनके होते तो अभी तक बना ही लिए होते.
The Congress party on its side said both BJP and AAP were shying away from holding fresh elections.
The fact of the matter is both these parties have made so many false promises and tall promises to the people of Delhi. Now they are afraid facing the people of Delhi.
The BJP rejected the claims and said it was fully confident to face elections if necessary.
बीजेपी क्यों संकोच करे? अभी चुनाव हो गए तो भी हमको पूर्ण बहुमत मिलने का संभावना है. सब इंडिकेशंस उस दिशा में है.
The national capital has been without an elected government ever since February after Kejriwal announced his resignation as the state chief. The AAP has been demanding fresh election in Delhi ever since. The BJP, which was the biggest party in the 2013 provincial polls, are also boosting of confidence after impressive performances in Haryana and Maharashtra.
International Voice of Baloch Missing Persons or IVBMP on Monday said 3 bullet-ridden bodies recovered from Pakistan's southern Karachi were of the activists who went missing from Balochistan. According to Baloch nationalists, thousands have disappeared and feared killed in the insurgency-hit province.
The IVBMP said out of the 3 bodies, one of them was of an activist who had been missing since 2 years after being abducted by intelligence agencies from Quetta. Even though the bodies are yet to be identified, Baloch leader Abdul Qadir Baloch said they were Mari tribesmen from Balochistan. Baloch leaders also pointed out that this was not the first time such bodies of missing Baloch activists were recovered from the area. The Voice for Baloch Missing Persons had earlier this year petitioned the United Nations against the enforced disappearances and extrajudicial killings in the province undertaken by the Pakistan Army and its intelligence agencies. They accused Pakistani establishment of a kill-and-dump policy in the country's largest province that is roiled by a 6-decade-old movement for greater autonomy.
Bangladeshi freedom fighters and civil society are continuing with their protests against war criminal Ghulam Azam's laying to rest in the country. Many said Azam's burial, which took place over the weekend, was an insult to Bangladesh's freedom fighters.
The controversial chief of the Jamaat-e-Islami Bangladesh, Ghulam Azam, continues to remain a divisive figure in the country even after his death. Many took to the streets soon after Azam's funeral, which was held inside the National Mosque in Bangladeshi capital Dhaka on Saturday. Some said Azam, who opposed the formation of Bangladesh, should not have been buried in the country's soil.
আমরা এই গোলাম আজমকে এই মাটিতে কবর দিতে পারি না। এখানে বঙ্গবন্ধুর কবর আছে। এখানে 4 নেতা জাতীয় নেতার কবর আছে। এখানে 30 লক্ষ মা বোনের শহীদি রক্তের কবর। আমরা এই কবরকে এই মাটিকে অপবিত্র করতে দিতে চাই না।
92-year-old Azam died on Thursday after a cardiac arrest in the jail hospital. He was serving a 90-year imprisonment awarded by the International War Crimes Tribunal last year for his involvement in crimes against humanity committed during the 1971 Bangladesh Liberation War.
Pakistan Awami Tehreek or PAT Supremo Tahirul Qadri left for North America and Europe visit on Monday. Qadri said he will soon return to Pakistan and the aim of his foreign tour is to strengthen the party standing abroad. Many, however, see it as a cleric's way out from Pakistan after his attempt to topple the Nawaz Sharif government through a so-called revolution failed. Qadri, who returned from Canada in June, had organized a 67-day sit-in demonstration in capital Islamabad against the government. After being unable to pressurize the government to resign, Qadri had last week called off his protest. Pollution has increased in many Indian cities post-Diwali. Despite efforts by authorities to control the impact of the noisy celebrations, air quality levels reached dangerous levels yet again.
With people bursting firecrackers for the Festival of Lights Diwali, air quality across Indian cities deteriorated. Even though the World Health Organization recently warned New Delhi about having the world's worst air pollution, the capital recorded nearly 9 times more pollution than on an average day. Emissions of carbon monoxide, nitrogen dioxide and sulfur dioxide from the loud and smoky crackers can be damaging for the respiratory system, while waste from crackers lay lying on the streets. And it comes just weeks after Prime Minister Narendra Modi picked up a broom to launch the Clean India campaign.
कचरा करते हैं तो सफाई करने के लिए खुद भी आए। जैसे नरेंद्र मोदी खुद सफाई करने के लिए उतरे हैं रोडों में, तो उन्होंने भी खुद ने आना चाहिए। लोगों ने जितना पर्यावरण को गंदा करते हैं, जितना रोड को गंदा करते हैं, उसके लिए सिर्फ हमें ही साफ करना पड़ता है यहाँ पे, बाकी सफाई के लिए कोई और खड़ा नहीं होता है।
Despite authorities fixing a 10 p.m. deadline for crackers and a continued anti-firecracker campaign for years, there has been little let-up in the air and noise pollution. The problem is aggravated when combined with a high population density and a lack of open spaces, trapping sound and increasing the intensity. Still, some residents don't seem to mind.
नहीं, ये ट्रेडिशन है, दिवाली में पटाखे फूटेंगे, थोड़ी सी पटाखे की गंदगी होगी, लेकिन जिम्मेदारी अपनी है, सफाई कर देंगे, उसमें वो टेंशन वाली कोई बात ही नहीं है.
India holds the unwanted record of having 13 of the world's 20 most polluted cities. These hazy skies are evidence of the challenging task ahead for the Indian government as it pushes forward with its $32 billion Clean India campaign.
Cyclone Nilofar is steadily gaining strength in the Arabian Sea. The deep depression is expected to cause strong winds and heavy showers along the coastline of southern Pakistan in the next 2 days. A report.
Cyclone Nilofar strengthened into the equivalent of a Category 2 hurricane on Tuesday with winds estimated at 105 miles per hour. It is, however, expected to intensify into a Category 3 equivalent tropical cyclone by Wednesday, the U.S. Joint Typhoon Warning Center has predicted. According to Pakistan's Met Department, the weather system is heading towards southwestern Balochistan and could bring heavy rains and thunderstorms in the coastal areas, touching some areas of Karachi on Thursday. Fishermen in Pakistan have been advised not to venture out into the sea. Cyclone Nilofar is expected to hit Oman in the next 48 to 72 hours. India's western state of Gujarat is already on high alert after weather officials issued warning on Sunday. Local authorities began evacuation work along the coastal regions ahead of the cyclone, which is likely to make landfall in Kutch district on Friday. The Gujarat administration has also cautioned local fishermen of keeping away from the sea and issued alerts to port authorities to hoist distant warning signals. The latest weather phenomenon comes weeks after India's eastern coast was hit by the tropical cyclone Hudhud this month. The devastating storm, which made landfall in southern Visakhapatnam on October 12th, battered through the states of Andhra Pradesh and Odisha. The calamity, however, saw minimal casualties after the government undertook massive preparedness and evacuated millions of people along the coastline days in advance. The eastern coastline was also hit by Cyclone Felin, one of the strongest in recent times last year.
Well, that's the way it was in South Asia this evening. Before we conclude the top stories once again. India's Supreme Court orders BJP government to reveal all names in black money list. Taliban violence surges as NATO troops withdraw in Afghanistan. And Cyclone Nilofar to touch coastal India and Pakistan this week. That's all in tonight's edition. We'll see you same time tomorrow. Good night.